Happy episode, everybody. Are you ready?
Yeah.
On your mark, get set, go.
Is my mic working? Do we sound check?
Check.
Hello.
It'll be fine because
It'll be fine.
It'll be fine.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, ready?
Mm-hmm.
Are y'all ready?
Are we ready? Are you ready for it?
Are you ready for it? Hey, everybody, welcome back. Angela Snyder. Hi.
Hi.
How are you today?
I'm really great because I got to spend an afternoon with some wonderful people doing some really fun things.
Oh, I love that.
Right?
Yeah.
It's a great way to end the week. So
Yeah.
one day this week I said, this is the best day ever because I did an adoption where this stepfather adopted all 6 of his stepchildren. 5 of them were under 18 years old. He is such a hero, such a sweet God story. So I thought, this is the best day ever. Because, you know, last week we did nothing because of the snow.
Yeah, y'all all remember that, right?
We came back this week and it's like, buckle up, hang on. Everybody's losing their minds. What is happening?
I haven't watched Beverly Hills Housewives. Hadn't done that.
No time for anything like that.
No, but I've made people watch Fool Me Once, and we've all talked about it, so I'm happy that I accomplished that.
Well, if you are listening and you have watched Fool Me Once because Fran recommended it, we need to hear from you. I have not had an opportunity yet.
Well, because it's 10 episodes, Angela, that I watched in a matter of 2 days, so.
What else were you going to do?
No, yeah.
We were grounded.
Yeah.
But then yesterday I got to reconnect with a friend who had some really happy, unexpected news. And then today I was in this full afternoon training that at first I was like, what in the world? But our state director from FCA, Robert Green, and our area West Tennessee guy came and they did leadership board training.
I love that.
And in my manual, I sent you a picture of it because one of the first things I saw was the verse that you referenced on the last podcast. And now I can't
Psalm
remember.
78, 72 maybe, that David led with integrity of heart and skillful hands.
It's so fun when your worlds collide. It's so fun when we are sitting in Scripture, talking about Scripture.
Sorry, Dr. Dub, if I just butchered that address, but I know it's Psalm 77, 78, 72, something like that.
We're in the neighborhood.
I'm in the neighborhood.
It's in the Bible. It is a psalm. Yeah, it was like, okay, you know, we talk about how we hear from the Lord and He speaks to us through Scripture.
Yes.
So when I see a verse that's a confirmation of this is just where we were, it's just a sweet little God wink. So that's where I've been.
Also, y'all, it did snow last week, but today it feels a little on the muggy side.
Look at our hair.
My hair is extremely puffy.
There's a whole lot of volume going on.
It feels very, very thick, and I don't know what to do about it, so.
You look glamorous. It's got some va-va-boom. Mine just, I have a hair appointment Tuesday, and I'm so ready. The gray is starting to become more apparent sooner. I pulled a gray eyebrow out,
no, we're not talking
and I was
about
just
that.
like, no, we're done with this.
No.
Yeah,
I go this is horrible, but I go every 4 weeks to get my hair colored.
It's not horrible.
Because the gray is so significant.
Well, you know, sound bougie all you want to, but you've got nothing on the glam team with your Beverly Hills Housewives.
Listen, y'all. We talked about the fact that, they've got glam teams. Each housewife has their own glam squad. And, let me also say this. I kind of just lied. I did watch the new episode of Beverly Hills Housewives last night because it releases on Thursday. Well, I didn't know that, but I was looking for something on Peacock that Dylan, my youngest, told me about. And then it's right up there at the top.
Suggested for you.
New episode. And I was like, oh, well, yes, I've got to watch that for 45 minutes. And so they were going to Spain. This most recent episode, all these girls were going to Spain. I don't know why they were going to Spain, but they went to Spain. And more than one housewife took their glam squad with them.
And when you say glam squad, like I've seen people have, this is my makeup lady, this is my hair person.
Well,
whatever.
I got a hair person, but I only see her every 4 weeks to put color on my hair.
Well, so it would be extra for us to travel with our hair person or also our makeup person, but they go way beyond that. They send these people ahead to check out the room and change the pillow cases and make sure the view is appropriate. And they're doing all these things, and I'm like, goodness gracious, is the temperature appropriate? Do we need, is it stuffy? Do we need to air out the room?
Y'all.
Can you imagine being the person on their payroll? There's no telling what the pillowcase changer person makes.
For real. And one of the girls last night, I forgot, she didn't have a glam squad person go with her, but she has a house manager.
What?
I don't even know what that is.
That's insane.
A house manager. I don't think these girls work outside of, now that's not true. Some of them do, but I'm like, a house manager and a glam squad?
Well,
Welcome to LA.
The one that I called Karen, I think her name's, it's not Denise.
Yeah.
What is her name?
I don't know.
Diana.
Sure.
She just casually mentioned, so Giorgio Armani and Fendi, you know, clothing designers, they designed my last home.
Yeah.
I'm like, what do you pay for
I
it?
know. I can't
It's
even.
$9 million for a jacket. Can you imagine designing your house? What that would be? It's just.
But
so funny.
The sad thing is, like, I'm watching it.
Well, and then the other sad
I'm
thing
giving
is,
it my time.
The other sad thing is, are they even friends? Because one
No,
episode
they're not.
they're
not.
all chummy, and the next episode you're like, hold on a minute, are we in third grade? Like, what is happening here?
Yelling at each other in a restaurant, like, you know, they're about to kill each other.
I'd rather be poor and have real friends.
Oh, absolutely.
We've got the best life.
But I continue to watch it. So y'all, what does all that even mean?
Because it's such an escape.
Listen, and this is what I've learned, is that every single day, like we were talking about this yesterday in a conversation, a group of ladies that we're going through this book together called Women and Work.
Oh.
And so there's a group of us reading it together. We get together and we talk about it. But I said, you know, every day, every week, I have to look at my calendar. And I know the extent of my calendar each day as far as this is going to be a really hard, long, draining day. Are there moments of escape or rest or whatever it is I need to do in the course of that day? And if there's not, if it's going hard from 7:30 a.m. to like a lot of nights this week, it was late, then you better believe my rest is, it ain't picking up a book. I wish it was, but that requires mental brain power and energy. It is like turning on something and just
mindless.
Yes, and that's like letting my mind rest.
Yeah, that makes total sense.
And so some days I may be like, you know what, I'm going to go for a walk. Other nights I'm going to watch Real Housewives.
Well, speaking of watching things, my sister Catherine loves to send through Instagram. I don't know what she follows, who she follows, how she finds the best of the best on the internet. Shout out to Catherine. I don't know how. She's just skilled. That is one of her many talents. But she sends me some great stuff. But one night last week, she sent me, and I immediately sent it to you. I'd forgotten about the show. I loved this show growing up.
Oh, yes.
Chuck Woolery on the Love Connection. You remember Chuck Woolery going 2 and 2, be right back at you with the commercial breaks?
Yes.
So Love Connection, if you're listening and you don't know what it is or need a refresher, he would sit on this couch, and there was another couch across from him, and it could be a boy or a girl, but one of them was like the contestant, and then there were 3 prospective dates for them.
This was kind of like The Bachelor before.
It was. It was like The Bachelor before there was a Bachelor, and the audience would vote on their favorite, but you wouldn't find that out until later. So first, the contestant got to pick their favorite contestant just based on their profile and their photograph. So then the contestant sitting on the couch with Chuck talking about the date, and the date is like on the screen, so you can see them, but they're like behind the stage. And then at the end, they come out after they show who the audience picked, and then they get to decide if they want a second date or if she wants to choose instead who the audience picked. And sometimes it matches up, and then I'm sure they pay for a date or whatever. But I had forgotten. I mean, immediately I'm back in 7th grade, you know, with my big hair and my big scrunchie and my oversized clothes, just sprawled on my couch watching TV. It just took me right back. I could picture the brown carpet in my living room and the ugly couch that we had. Remember they would talk about Whoopi, and they would like bleep it out, and I remember thinking, this is the most scandalous thing I've ever heard on television. But it just was so funny.
Well,
So
it was a little scandalous.
It was
back
very
in
racy.
the
I think it came on
80s.
at like 10:30. I don't think it came on at a proper hour. I was up past my bedtime watching crazy things.
Yeah, and like we've talked about, like, what was the name of that show you just said? Love Connection.
Love Connection. I think Whoopi was Newlywed Game.
Well, Newlywed Game.
That one was racy.
I think both of these shows made me a little uncomfortable.
Are we allowed to talk about this?
Like, I didn't know. What was happening, because nothing ever, you just didn't see this kind of thing.
No.
Or talk about this kind of, you sure as heck didn't talk about it with your parents.
Mm-mm.
And then that made us think about, the Love Boat, and I thought that.
Falcon Crest.
Dallas.
Mm-hmm.
Anything that came on, Knots Landing, the 9 o'clock hour.
Yes.
Hang on a minute.
I remember hearing my dad liked to watch LA Law, which I always would argue, little bitty me, 8 years old, wanting to be a lawyer one day. I should be allowed to watch this for educational purposes. And he was like, go to bed. My bedtime was 8:30, and then it bumped up to 9, I think, in 4th grade. But I can remember, because we had a little tiny house, and I could hear the music of the theme song coming on, just down the hallway. I can remember the theme of Hill Street Blues, and I thought, this is the saddest song ever, because it means I have to go to bed, and bedtime is dumb. And I can remember LA Law with the saxophone, that theme song. I should go back and watch some of these. I bet they're out there.
Oh, well, they are. But yeah, it's so fun. And like Three's Company.
Oh my goodness, we watched that on Nick at Night still.
I mean, all of that was just kind of like cutting edge TV.
Oh, it was. Newlywed Game, I remember they would beat each other with the cards.
Oh,
like
sure
the husband
did.
would say something stupid, and the wife would smack him with the answer card.
Oh man, has reality TV come? Or I don't know if that's not reality TV, that's a game show, but shows have come a long way. But we did talk about Via Boxer. Reality TV was born with The Real World on MTV. I don't know how old I was. Somebody will Google that.
New York was the first one, right?
I don't know.
And one of them had AIDS or HIV. Remember that?
I do remember that. And
that was big time cutting edge.
Yes, and not even knowing what that was. But I think that's, clearly that's when TV changed, because reality TV was born. But whoever did that with MTV, whoever that was their idea, oh my word.
That was like the godfather of reality shows.
Look at us now, good and bad. But I'm all about some reality TV. Now, I don't like bad reality TV, but clearly I'm a Bravo girl. I think there's some, I don't know. I've always liked New York and Orange County, Beverly Hills. Whatever, it's terrible, it's trash.
Well, it's a way to disconnect,
All that to say.
All that to say. Speaking of say, I sent you a text one night because we were dying. Actually, it was a video of my husband trying to order something that he couldn't pronounce.
Y'all, it's so scary.
But you were on Team Carl. We were making fun of Carl, and Fran was not having it.
Listen, okay, Angela, you're going to tell us the story, and then I'm going to follow it up with, I'm terrified of this word. I probably want to order it, but I'm scared to order it because I'm scared I'm going to call it the wrong thing, and we need to respell it to where it's not scary.
I wonder where this word is from.
I don't know.
What is the origin of this word? Because it does not make good, common, proper English sense.
Okay, spell the word. Spell it for us.
Okay. The word is spelled.
Then I'm going to tell y'all another story. Just don't let me forget, because it's going to require spelling.
I want to hear from y'all. What are the words that make you laugh and you're like, I know I didn't say
or
that right?
Or you've mispronounced it in a place where you're just like, oh my God, I can't believe I just mispronounced that word. Okay.
Like the people that say Walmarts.
Yeah, no. God.
Please don't do that.
Please don't do that.
Okay. This word is spelled A-C-A-I.
I've already got anxiety.
It's just a 4-letter word.
A 4-letter word. A-C-A-I.
A-I. So we went to Tropical Smoothie, and Cole wanted a smoothie, and he wanted one of these. This word. They have a bowl. It's like a smoothie bowl with fruit. It's fabulous. But you have to overcome the hurdle of saying it to the worker over the speaker. So my husband says, I need an acai bowl.
Ding, ding, ding. That is incorrect.
And Cole and I got so tickled because either the woman couldn't understand him, didn't know what he intended to say, couldn't tell he was mispronouncing, or just truly could not hear.
Mm-hmm.
But this exchange
All the
went
above.
back and forth. So at least 2 or 3 times Carl is saying, I said I need an acai bowl. Cole and I are dying. I had tears falling down my face because we just kept getting so tickled. So then we pull up to the window and he's like, what? What is wrong? What did I say? And Cole said, it's not sushi.
Yeah, no, it's not.
It's a smoothie.
It's a smoothie
And
bowl.
Carl said, then how do you say it?
Mm.
And I even pulled up the thing on Google where they say it for you. And it's pronounced acai.
Mm-hmm.
And Carl kept saying, that's what I said.
Asahi.
Asahi.
Which we have a restaurant in town
Yes.
that is called Asahi.
And that's why Cole and I got so tickled.
Yes.
Because we eat there probably
And
once a week.
That is a sushi restaurant in town
Yes.
called Asahi. These are 2 different things, people.
It is sushi, hibachi, asahi.
Asahi.
This is smoothie, acai.
Acai. And it's got a little squiggly line somewhere involved in the spelling.
So then we get up to the window, and this precious little, might have been 15, 16 years old. She was so young and looked terrified.
Mm-hmm.
And she said, sir, are you the one that ordered the acai bowl?
Yes.
And then Cole is dying. And then she's like, I'm sorry, is something wrong? And then we're trying to not make her think we're making fun of her. We are trying to prove the point that we're only mocking Carl. But anyway.
No, I don't say that word because I will stare at it and be like,
I want that.
I
Just
want
point
that.
to it.
And then sometimes, like early on, I was like, is it a K sound?
Mm-hmm.
Why is it spelled that way?
It's a horrible word.
It needs to be respelled. If you could respell it, how do we respell it, Angela?
It is a travesty to the English language. It should be
A-H. Acai. I don't even know, y'all.
It is late on a Friday. I don't know how to spell. I just know how to make fun of people who say it wrong.
I hate it. It just needs
So
to be.
basically, we bullied my husband very shortly after his surgery. He's fine.
Well, we would share the video with you all, but it may have a word in it that we don't feel comfortable sharing.
Yeah, it was a lot. Carl, he did go to his post-op checkup. He's fine. Thank y'all for those who have checked on him. He had his hernia surgery 2 weeks ago. But I do want to go back and say one thing about that surgery that I did not share last week, and I meant to. Leading up to having to go there for any surgery is stressful and causes anxiety for anybody. This was laparoscopic. It was a very easy procedure, but whenever there's anesthesia involved,
Sure.
You get a little weird about it.
Well, anesthesia as a whole is weird.
Yes, and he and I have never. He had a colonoscopy done like when he was 30.
We're starting to sound like
we
the
sound like
senior,
we're 500.
the senior podcast.
But here's my point: like we have not had anything done at the hospital otherwise.
Right.
Childbirth, we're good. Rock on. So what is part of our story for both of us is both of our daddies died at that hospital. So it's always just kind of been like, I really don't ever want to go back there. So my prayer leading up to that surgery on Friday, I think on Tuesday or Wednesday, the Lord was just so kind to plant in my heart, what if you let me redeem this place for you? What if instead of being, because I was really starting to get anxious.
Sure.
And then I went through the whole, my word for the year is dependent, let people help me. But at the same time, I thought, this is so stupid to act like anybody needs to come sit with me. I'm fine. I don't need anybody up there with me. I will be okay. And I was. But there was part of me like, what am I going to do for the hours that I'm alone in the hospital wondering, just your mind just goes crazy places. So all that to say, I just start praying, God, help me in my mind be calm and redeem that. So I start thinking about Cole was born there. Atlas was born there. Think about all the happy adoptions I've been part of, where I've been in labor and delivery or in the NICU with babies that I got to help place with new mamas and daddies. So before we got there, we prayed and we were good, and I was like, okay, we're going to be fine. So we get in the room, and it's always, the worst thing in the world is when they're like, take off all your clothes and put on this gown that's open in the back.
Mm-mm.
And Carl and I just looked at each other, and I was like, well, have fun. I'm thinking it's you, not me. We're good. You know, last time, you know, doctor appointments, it was my turn. So I'm like, okay, you'll be fine. So I turn around, and we're drinking all this water. So I've got my 40-ounce cup, and I'm so clumsy. Within 2 seconds, I hear the most horrible crash, and I have turned around and knocked my cup off the counter, and water and ice went everywhere. They had, all this man has on is his gown and his socks, and I'm like inches from his socks getting soaked. So I grabbed every paper towel that was in that. I stripped that whole dispenser and go lunging for his feet to keep his socks.
Nothing to see
like
here.
I can't get him another pair of socks. We are so Lucille Ball in this hospital room. So I'm cleaning all that up, and then this nurse comes in, and you can tell she's fun, fiery little redhead. She's cutting up. We're having fun. Precious Jessica Smith in my Fellowship University group. She works at the hospital. She came and hung out with us, and before long I was like, you know what, we are happy, we are laughing. Jessica prayed the most beautiful prayer over him. Earlier that morning I had run into Debbie Curry, who, if you're listening and you know Debbie, she is everybody's favorite spiritual godmother if you have her in your life. It was just such a sweet, kind day. And then that morning, this is another fun reason to journal. The beginning of the year, probably in that first podcast we did, I probably referenced this, but when I chose the word dependent, I also chose the verse that the Lord will keep your mind in perfect peace when you're depending on Him because you can trust in Him. That was the verse of the day in my journal the morning of his surgery.
Oh, wow.
So the Lord literally took me right back to where I started January 1 and said, you can trust me. Just let your mind be fixed on me. You can depend on me. It's going to be okay. I'm with you.
The kindness of the Lord.
It just blew my mind.
It's so precious.
And I was reflecting back on that this week, and I thought, you know, I've got to mention that on this podcast because it just walked me back through, you know, I will help you. So anyway.
Would you like for me to tell you a story of a time where I've used a word very incorrectly?
100% yes.
This was in, I was leading one of my very first Bible studies. Oh my God, this has been so long ago. I mean, if I had to guess, I'm going to say probably 20 years ago. Okay? Because I can gauge where I was based on my youngest child's age. So let's say 2004, Dylan would have been around 4. I was leading Bible studies for the very first time. Didn't really know what I was doing.
Do you remember the study?
I remember it being a Beth Moore study.
Okay.
Like, let's just, jump right on in, people.
That's not hard.
Yeah, that's not hard at all. I had done Experiencing God with a group of ladies and apparently thought a Beth Moore study, I could handle that. And I'm so thankful that that's where I began to cut my teeth on Bible study. But I'm in a group. I remember our table was set up in a U-shaped fashion. Now let me remind you all that when you've never done anything before, a lot of the time, if not most of the time, you're just figuring it out as you go and possibly faking it and acting like you know what you're doing when you have no idea what you're doing.
And
right?
that works.
And it works until you have to read something aloud, and the word that you stumble upon when you're trying to act like you know what you're doing and you've got it all together and you're smart and you love the Lord and you can read sentences. I'm reading something out of the workbook. Just, and sometimes that in and of itself can be scary because all of a sudden you can't read when you can read just fine, That wasn't the case. I was reading just fine. And then all of a sudden, I hit a word. I'm going to spell it. You and I have talked about this, Angela. But I didn't even acknowledge the fact that I read it wrong, said it wrong. I just kept going and never went back to it to try to fix it.
Which is probably the best way to do it.
Well, I guarantee you everybody else in the room was like, lady, that's not the right word.
What was it?
Okay, so I'm going to spell it.
Okay.
And I'm going to tell you, this isn't like the other acai. This is just a regular Joe word.
Okay.
There's no squiggly lines involved.
Okay.
It's just a regular Joe word. Also, at that time, I was in my early 30s, so that's young to me.
It's very young.
And
yes.
so I don't know that I used this word a whole lot.
How big is this word?
No, it's not much, Angela. It's not much at all. Okay, so the word is spelled. Here's the spelling of the word. Are y'all ready? E-P, I feel like I'm on Wheel of Fortune.
And the script spelling me.
I'll take an E, please. Okay, E-P-I-T-O-M-E.
Okay.
E-P-I-T-O-M-E. I read that word exactly like it looks. Epitome. Epitome.
Epitome.
That is not a word.
Sure it is.
No, it's not. It's not a word.
It's the epitome of epitome.
Oh, it is the epitome of epitome. And you know how, like, when you're trying to fake it, and you know, like, am I supposed to know this word? Is that a word? I just decided to roll with it, and I'll never forget it. Nobody ever called me out on it.
Isn't it interesting, though? I bet there's not much else you could remember as far as specific memory from that period of time.
I don't remember anything, but I remember that.
I can remember very vividly, and I'd forgotten about it till you started sharing this, being in the courtroom, trying so hard to muster up all the confidence and look like the best lawyer that ever lawyered. And I was actually advocating for a child whose parents disagreed on the type of school that they should attend. And I was advocating for a new form of school that starts with an M.
Oh, okay.
And everybody else in the family wanted the child in a different school. I don't even remember because nobody said it wrong, so who cares? And Chancellor Butler was our judge, and I thought that man he's still alive. Still think he walks on water. He's one of my ultimate heroes and role models. And I looked him square in the face and said, I believe this child needs to be in Montessori school. And then I remember thinking, what? But then I was like, well, Montessori? Like a rotisserie chicken. And I just squared my shoulders and smiled at him.
I mean,
and he just shook his head. And I marched right back to my chair, and I just thought, did I just say Montessori?
Epitome, Montessori.
I wish y'all could just come to court sometime and hear some of the horrible things. And now that I'm settled in, we don't get as embarrassed. But starting out, you just think, I'm going to die. My career is over.
Yeah.
I still remember that.
Yeah.
And it was probably 2005 or 2006. I was probably, not even 30 years old. But I say dumb things. I mean, we will all the time.
Oh, I'm the queen of saying dumb things.
But even like in depositions on the record, we'll be like, just strike that. I don't even know what that means.
I'd like to walk around life and just say, could you just strike that?
Could you just strike that? Roll that back.
Roll that back. I did not say that. Well, let me just quickly tell also a story that's current.
Yes.
So let's not talk about 20 years ago, Angela. Let's talk about within the last 2 years.
Even though if it happened now, you'll still remember it later.
Oh, I've adopted this word as a word, and it's not a word. Okay. So about a couple of years ago, I had to type up a very long, lengthy, very important, serious email. Okay? I mean, it took me days to put this email together because I was being very careful, thoughtful. Like, I edited it, I reread it, like I had other people read it, the whole 9 yards. No, that's not true. I did not have anybody else read it because I knew that I couldn't do that because of the nature of the email. So why do we do this? Like, why do we send something and then we go back and read it? Like, you've already read it 94 times.
Let me just pause and say, with my eyes, I've had to start voice texting because I can't see. But then for some reason, I go back and look at what I sent, and I sound like I'm insane
Awful.
or drunk.
Or I'm 4 years old
and
and
then
I'm just
I have to
now.
text that person and say, this is what I meant to send you.
Yeah, it's something terrible. So I send the email. Like, I'd read it 9,400 times. It's been a week. I had edited it the whole 9 yards. Well, I'm notorious for this. My brain loves to take 2 words and combine them. and make a word.
You make contractions.
And that word comes out of my mouth. It doesn't stay up in my brain. It comes out of my mouth and I say the word.
We should put them in Urban Dictionary.
Oh, we should, all right.
What did you do?
It's kind of like when George Bush got known for strategery.
Strategery. Will Ferrell made that famous.
I will do that a lot. I just take two words and put them together.
You smush them
Yes,
together.
I do. So I go back into my sent email and I read the email, and just as quick as anything, I see it. And I'm like, Fran, what in the world have you done? You are an absolute idiot.
Oh, no.
So it's not bad, but I had taken the word successful and productive. I was trying to decide in this particular paragraph what I was trying to convey, what was my point. Was I going to use the word successful? Was I going to talk more about something that had to do with being productive? I made up the word productful.
Oh, no.
I took successful and productive.
Well, why can't we start using that?
Well, and here's the thing. It didn't underline it weird. Like, it didn't catch it for me.
What if you've created a word?
Well, I have created a word because I've used it more than once.
Okay.
Like, my brain has literally...
It's locked it in.
It's locked in as a real word. So I have to be very careful to not say, oh, you are being so productful today. Y'all, it sounds like a real word.
I've never noticed, but now I will be listening for it.
Oh, I have to stop and think when I'm typing anything. It's productive. It's not productful. You haven't had a productful day. You've had a productive day.
I bet those kids in Montessori school know how to speak properly.
That is the epitome of being an idiot.
Epitome.
So it's just so bizarre how that all that happens, and you're like, I'm going to be 100 years old and be in some facility going, using the word productful.
And that's okay.
And that's okay. And the word epitome and Montessori, rotisserie, whatever. That's awesome. Okay. None of this was probably in our outline. There's your entire podcast, y'all.
Right. Okay, so a couple of episodes ago, we shared in stories my new shirt that I love so much that says you can't throw stones while washing feet.
Yes.
They have a new one.
Where did we share where you get that from?
No, but I want to because a few people asked me about it. It's called Dear Heart. DearHeart. All we've done is spell words on this podcast.
Because this is DEER.
Which would make sense for the country girl. But Dear Heart. And they have a new one. We have this. Is this one worth releasing on Monday?
I promise y'all we're intelligent people.
We have had a long week, and there's a full moon. But they have a new one that I love, and I can share this in stories, but it says, may heavenly things constantly interrupt our earthly things. And if you weren't so tickled by the epitome right now, you would like that and think it was beautiful. But instead, Fran is falling apart.
Spell something in there. Say it again. I'm listening now. Say it again.
Fran, calm yourself. Center.
Catch your breath. Okay.
May I can't do it. May heavenly things constantly interrupt our earthly things.
Oh yeah, that's a good
Isn't
one.
that good?
Yeah. Yeah.
I just swung us back to serious again for a minute.
Okay, thank you.
Wednesday night this week, we launched our first Leadership Union Volleyball Edition.
Yes.
With the volleyball team.
This is an unapproved organization by the university.
Kind of like Fran creating words. I just declared us to be the volleyball edition of something that the university does.
Yeah,
since I'm an unofficial. People ask me if I work here.
Yes,
and I'm
pretty
like,
much.
For free.
Yeah.
I'm like, I do work there.
Mm-hmm.
I do work, there.
Yes.
I don't get paid to work there. I love it here.
Yeah.
But yes, we've declared it to be the unofficial new endeavor of the university. What we are doing, these girls are just so amazing.
Yes,
they got to go around the room and tell Fran what they wanted Fran to know about each other and why they add value to the team. And you and I both were just like, well, I think you said it best. You're like, why don't we do more of that?
Oh,
why don't more people in more settings affirm each other that way?
You know what? Let's just say this. I think well, I know it's not going to happen, but wouldn't it be nice if, like, when you're sitting in a meeting you're sitting in some group context and just like, don't go around the whole room, but just maybe the leader. Hey, I got an idea. Maybe the leader that's facilitating the meeting starts off with some specific, not general praise, but specifically calling out something good that they saw in someone. And then the point is, y'all know that we like to cough when we get in the recording studio because for some reason that's just what we do. But then you make it a habit. And so over the course of the year, all the times that you get together, you have called out something good in somebody.
And I've shared about it on the podcast before because several years ago when I was headed with my pretty little typed up outline for my well-produced lesson for the volleyball team to kick off the year, I'm getting out of the car and the Lord's like, no, you don't need that. And y'all know nothing scares me more than not having my notes and my outline in front of me. And what the Holy Spirit put on my heart was to do exactly that with the team, and walls crumbled and it turned into a 4-hour beautiful event. But what you're doing is affirming we don't see ourselves the way God sees us or the way other people see us, and we miss things that need to be called out. So we did that with them. Today at my training, one of the leaders there had us go around the room and say who we were, how long we'd been on the board, our occupation, and then what we think we contribute to the board.
I love that.
And then he said, I wish we had more time for the people on the board to tell you where they see that show up and how you add value. And I think we'll do that at our next board meeting. But I had shared, the first time we did this, I'd shared it with Barry Cox, who's over FCA, and he had them do that with the Northside boys basketball team. And he said it was very awkward at first because it's boys.
Well, and let me say this too. I think we should do this with the volleyball girls because what I have found with college students is it's really hard for them to give themselves a compliment. To simply say, I am good at, or my giftedness is this.
We should do that this coming week.
My skills are this. I heard a student today say out loud, it feels strange. I'm not comfortable in speaking these things out loud. And I'm like, well, first of all, I'm proud of you for being able to identify these good qualities, traits, characteristics, gifts, talent, skills. I'm very proud of you. Don't be ashamed or embarrassed about that because this is God-given talent that he has developed and grown in you. Like, that's good. It's, I remember several years ago, Dr. Dub, telling me, Fran, you are a good leader. And I was like, bless you. Y'all were coughing, sneezing, spelling.
He said, and I was like, bless you.
Bless you.
That was perfectly timed.
Perfectly timed, everyone. But you know what? Like, it's just strange to see yourself as something good, and then you feel extremely strange to say it out loud.
Well, Barry said these boys at first were so hesitant, but he said once they embraced it, it was such a game changer. And he said the next time he came, they were like, hey, coach, can we do that thing again where people say things about us?
That's so
and now
good.
They're asking for that. But even around the dinner table. This is something you can do with your family. You can do with whatever small group. But it's so simple. But oh my goodness, it makes a difference. And I do want us to do a follow-up with them this coming week and say, you tell me what makes you valuable on this team.
Because you have it, and we don't need to be ashamed to say it out loud.
That's so good.
Okay. What else you want to talk about as we wrap it up? Are we in February yet? No, we're so close.
We're so close. Groundhog Day is Friday. I know. That groundhog better not do us dirty.
Listen, spring's coming, y'all.
It's
coming. It always does.
It's coming. So, Rachel Mitchell has been on our podcast before. She's my beach body. Well, now it's body, not beach body, because nobody cares about a beach body. But she's my coach, my accountability person, and she sends us the greatest little reminders here and there. And one of the things she sent out really stuck with me and really reinforces what we talked about in the new year. But she talks about how, she said, my friend Shannon said something that stuck with me. She said she believes when we get to heaven, we will give an account for the time God gave us and how we used it. And she's talking about stewarding our time well. And I'm trying to just cut to the part that I was
going to say, do I need to give you some glasses?
I don't have my glasses on, so I'm struggling, y'all. But she talks about how we should assign meaning to our time.
Absolutely.
And what she's, suggesting in this personal development part of this is, you figure out what's non-negotiable, what has to happen, and write that on a list. And then the time suckers, the Netflix binges, the things that we like to do but aren't necessary, come later. But that whole idea of assigning value to our time and not just letting it randomly happen. And
That's
I thought,
right.
Earlier this week I wanted pizza. It's not necessarily something that I need to eat every day, but I tracked it and I moved on, and who cares?
It added value to your moment.
It made me happy. But I tracked it. I didn't feel guilty about it. I planned around it, and I moved on. If I want to watch, mindless television, I'm going to plan for it and move on. Same with social media, whatever. Where we get in trouble is when we look up and it's like, oh my goodness, 6 hours have gone by, or I've eaten 2 pizzas, or that took control over me instead of me being in charge and stewarding well.
Yeah.
So,
well, nobody wants to be careless with their time. But you have to be intentional.
That's it.
You have to be intentional. You have to look at that calendar. For me, it's always on a Sunday night, but I'm also evaluating it daily so that I'm building in rest, mindless TV, exercise, spiritual moments throughout the day. All of that has to be very thought through. Otherwise, you're not, you may look back at your day and go, well, I did all those things, but were they all valuable in that particular day?
And that's so important to audit that. And just like I wasn't tracking what I was eating until the first of the year, so I would have told you, I'm in a calorie deficit. I should weigh 20 pounds less. No, I'm not.
Yeah.
But I just give myself grace or whatever, overlook things. Same thing with my time. It gets away, but it's just so empowering to go, you know what? I'm taking control.
That's right.
Anyway.
All the people said. So, as you go about your week, I think it's worth considering your time and what you're doing throughout each hour of the day that's good for you. You're the only one that can recognize this is what's best for me and my day. Nobody else can do that for you. And you don't need to compare your day and your time against someone else's.
We'll give an example to close this out. One little baby step of progress with the Lord. Fran Thomas has done 100 and something Pure Barre classes. I've done one, and I love you, Coach Susie, but it whooped my behind, and you will never see me back there unless you just look at me in the face and say, I need you to come to this class, but please don't ask me to. I'll send Fran. I'm so proud of you, Fran, for doing all these Pure Barre classes. You made a commitment to yourself, and you have done a beautiful job with the encouragement of Susie and with the Lord right there with you. But what is some takeaway that you have, or a verse that you're claiming, or where are you with all that right now? We can do hard things.
We can do hard things. Susie is coming up on the show. We've recorded a special bonus episode that is not necessarily Susie said so. And so I'm anxious for you all to hear her journey through doing hard things. But for me, what I've learned through 100 and some odd classes of this is it really is accountability, and it really is challenging yourself to do something hard for yourself. And for me, it's the physical component of my life. Like I'm looking at, in 2024, I'm looking at my whole self. Now, as I sit here and say, I have finished 100 and some odd classes and I'm challenging myself in this physical way, keep in mind, I have not grown a lick in like growing intellectually because of Real Housewives. I said I was going to read a book a month. Well, January is come and gone. I haven't done it. And so I was already like,
we got a redo because we had a week of nothing.
Oh, we are getting a redo, and it's starting February 1st. Because, but you can only do what you can do.
Correct.
And you don't need to beat yourself up. So whatever your goal is, I didn't really necessarily have a goal, like I want to get to 100 classes. I was just trying to make it through like a month of these classes. But before you know it, you're stacking things on top of one another and you're making progress. The number increases, whatever it is you're trying to do. But I honestly wouldn't have done it if it wasn't for Susie in the beginning, and just the camaraderie and the beautiful souls that make up those classes each week. So, yeah, special episode with Susie coming up. Stay tuned.
We can do hard things.
Yes, we can.
We're better together.
Yep.
That's first and foremost the Lord.
Yeah.
And your people.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, everybody. Thanks.
How about that rambling?
How about that spelling edition?
Spell rambling.
Not a Susie said so edition. This was your spelling edition. We love you guys so much, and we truly are grateful for each and every one of you. And I really do want you to know that there's not many days that go by where either consciously or subconsciously we're thinking about you all, because we're always considering, what should we talk about? What would our listeners, enjoy listening to us ramble about? So we're very, very grateful for you all, and we thank God for you and hope you have a wonderful week. We'll see you next time. Okay, everybody.
Thank y'all for watching.
Bye-bye.